Welcome, beautiful people of all ages, shapes, and colors, to another episode of the Hit Your Free Throw podcast, where we encourage you to stick to the basics. I'm one of your hosts, TV, aka TV on Basketball, alongside my co-host, Jay, aka the Knockdown Jay. How's it going, my guy?
Hey, bro, we locked in, bro. WNBA season is closing out soon. The NBA regular season feels like it's getting closer by the day. The minute training camp news starts popping up TV, we're officially in mode when it comes to the NBA stuff. Y'all gonna have to wait for that, obviously. We're still in off-season mode. The dog days are kind of trickling in. But that's why we got this podcast, for you guys to be able to listen to some interesting stuff like TV. We have easily the hardest ranking we've done so far in this series coming up on today's episode. Crazy work,
Top
bro.
10 power forwards. I knew it was going to be hard, but Jay, the round of back and forth that we had, this was hard. Even harder than the point guard, so that's going to be an interesting list. We got the full NBA season schedule, Jay. So even though we don't have training camp news, we know the games of both of our teams, the entire league. Yeah. We're going to be reacting to the Christmas Day schedule. And like we did last year, we're going to adjust it to make it our own because there's some good games there, but you know it can be better. We know it can be better. So that's what we're going to do in today's episode as well. So we have that. We have the top 10 power forwards. And of course, in the next couple of weeks, you'll still do top 10 centers, top 10 players in the league that we have. And then we have some other stuff coming up for you in the future as well. So it's going to be a great time for this podcast. I know it's been quite a bit. We had a bit of some struggles last week, but we're back. We're back at it again, even with maybe potential with some multiple episodes in a week. So be on the lookout for that. But today, talking Christmas Day schedule, talking top 10 point power forwards should be a damn good episode. But Jay, before we get into that episode, we do have to plug our platforms. Make sure you follow our individual platforms at TV and Basketball, at The Routine Jumper. Those links can be found in the description down below. In terms of the Hit Your Free Throw podcast, make sure you follow us on TikTok and Instagram for the best daily NBA content. That's where you get the reaction to the news. That's where you get the clips and all that. The best daily NBA content can be found over there. In terms of the YouTube, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you will not miss an episode. Also check out the YouTube Shorts. That's where you'll find some of the other daily NBA content if you want to look for the short form stuff. And then in terms of the podcast, make sure Podcast Network, Spotify, and Apple, subscribe, leave a review, all that good stuff. We appreciate all of y'all's support. Jay, are you ready to get into this?
Yes, sir.
And we're going to start off, man, with some NBA schedule talk. And the most important day of the NBA regular season is NBA Christmas Day, because that's when you get to cuddle up. I know it's going to be the time to spend time with your family, but Jay, I don't know about you guys, but I have basketball playing in the background, enjoying my time. And then when it comes to the big game, Jay, we all sit down, we enjoy it. I mean, like, Jay, if you remember last year's Warriors-Lakers game, that was absolutely cinematic. That's how good that game was last year. So you know that Christmas Day can provide some awesome games. And we're going to talk about this year's schedule, Jay. I'm going to bring it up to you, and then we're going to go a little back and forth, like, firstly, how you feel about the schedule and stuff like that. But then we're going to kind of rank this current schedule about what you're most excited for, what you're least excited for. So here's the schedule, if we want to look at that. Starting off, Jay, at noon, Cleveland at New York. Of course, we have to have one Madison Square Garden game. It's a must on Christmas.
Yeah.
San Antonio versus OKC at 2:30, second game of the day. We got Dallas versus Golden State at 5 p.m. The marquee matchup, Jay, the 8 p.m. slot. That is the most important slot when it comes to Christmas, because that's when, your family's finally there. You're having your Christmas dinner, and you're sitting there watching basketball. We have a KD LeBron showdown, Jay. Houston versus Los Angeles Lakers. And to cap it off, for all you sickos, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves taking on the Denver Nuggets. Jay, I think it's pretty good. How do you feel about the schedule so far?
So I think it's pretty solid. Obviously, I think there's a couple of things that were really interesting. Shout out to the San Antonio Spurs being featured on here as a team that wasn't in the playoffs last season. Shout out to the Dallas Mavericks, a team that obviously needs to be able to feature Cooper Flag in a real way, and they're going to be able to do that next to Anthony Davis. Hopefully, he'll be healthy by then in order for this game to look the way we want it to look.
That's always going to be a question with this Dallas team, isn't it? Yeah.
But obviously, TV, the elephant in the room when you first see the schedule is, boy, oh boy, the Western Conference glazes out and a foot, boy.
The NBA knows that the East is down bad. They know the East is down bad because one matchup and no interconference matchups, Jay. This is all within the same conference of all these games.
Yeah, I think it's really noticeable. Obviously, the 4-1 situation here between Western Conference matchups compared to Eastern Conference matchups. Like you said, nothing cross country either in terms of any East versus West teams either in this slate. And I think that's a noteworthy thing, man, because the NBA obviously is all about ratings just as much as they are about putting together just like a solid product. There's the interest factor that also has to kick in, and I think that a lot of people have already kind of preordained this season as being a wash for the Eastern Conference, and kind of looking at it as whatever team comes out of the West is probably going to be the official champion at the end of the year.
Yeah,
And I understand that to a certain degree, but I also feel like it doesn't give a chance for some of these other Eastern Conference teams that are on the rise to be able to step in front of
yeah.
these bright lights and be able to show off what is supposed to be the next generation of superstars, right? I think the one thing that really stood out to me more than anything within this Christmas Day slate is that, man, they are holding on to the old foxes so
I
long,
was gonna
bro.
say. I
Oh
was gonna
my
say.
goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, by sticking to the Western Conference, and it's kind of inadvertent, but by design at the same time, by sticking so heavily to favoring the Western Conference. I mean, the Lakers with LeBron, obviously we know they have Luka Doncic as well, but the Lakers with LeBron, Houston with KD, the Golden State Warriors with Draymond, Steph Curry,
The
Jimmy Butler,
Dallas
Den-
with AD. Yeah.
Dallas with AD. I mean, obviously you still have Denver with Jokic, but I mean, Lord have mercy. I mean, they very much favor the old foxes very much. So between the Western Conference glaze and the holding on to the OGs for dear life, man. This Christmas Day this Christmas Day schedule screams one word, TV, nostalgia.
It is going to be, man. It is 100% going to be. One of the other things too, and I think I got brought this up when I was like watching a TikTok. This is the first time in 10 years Boston has not been in a Christmas Day game. It has been
Wow.
over 10 years since Boston has not, and obviously we know why they're not here. One, they didn't make it far into the playoffs, and two, no Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
They have a whole rebuild roster now.
Yeah.
Like they're having discussions whether Paper should start or not. That's how you. This is the state of the Boston Celtics right now. So we know that they're not going to be in there. Obviously, the NBA sees what we see, Jay, and if
Yeah.
the Eastern Conference is down bad, but even still, like I was surprised not to see like even a chance with the Philadelphia 76ers with the amount of star talent. You want to talk about Unks, Jay? They still got freaking Joel Embiid and Paul George over there. I thought that they maybe
Whew.
would have had a chance, but I agree with you. Like the NBA, and I think this is like a problem with the NBA in general and just their marketing strategy.
Mm.
Look, they need to start building up these other guys.
I'm
There's
saying,
so much
bro.
talent in the league. And I know maybe they're not in your ideal markets,
Mm.
but at the same time, like we've seen the constant growth of the
Mm.
Orlando Magic. We've seen why not like bring back now that the Atlanta Hawks are or like look like a competent and a fun team again. Put Trae Young back in New York. You already know there's a storyline built in over there.
There you
There's like
go.
different teams. The Detroit Pistons, what a meteoric rise. Continue to build that star power of Kate Cunningham.
Yeah.
It's I mean, there's a reason why they hold on to nostalgia. This is what people and I think like why they make the Christmas Day games as it is
Mm.
because this is where you know you're gonna get Jay, quote unquote, the casuals into the like this is like where you're gonna have them lock in as well. So you want to
Yeah.
have as much branding name as general. And I understand a lot of these matchups, but I 100% agree with you, Jay. We need to start building up these other guys
Come on, man.
again in the league. And I think as we continue to hold on to the LeBrons, the Stephs, the KDs, there's only like 2 or 3 more years left of these dudes. And then
Yeah.
what's going to happen after that? We already talked about all these guys in their short timelines. We need to continue to start building up these guys. And I hate to use the WWE term, but maybe you can give the rub from these older guys and give it to a bit of like some of the younger teams, right? Like you have like I mentioned, a New York team taking on the Atlanta Hawks. Maybe you have a LeBron and MSG game, or sorry, like a LeBron and like versus like some other teams. Like you need to start giving like using these like older players and getting that eyes towards your younger talent. I think that's like the biggest thing here. I know the East is in a down year, but I 100% agree. This year more than anything, Jay. So much nostalgia, and I'm surprised that the Clippers aren't here if you're going to go for the nostalgia factor as well.
Honestly, that was an interesting team that I thought was left off, especially because the Clippers just had a really good summer, man. I mean, I
Yeah,
think across the board, they kind of tackled some of their bigger issues. Getting Bradley Beal on the deal that they were able to get him on after swapping out Norman Powell, I think you get a lot of fill in the blank there in terms of certain things that you don't get offensively, both in the starting lineup and potentially in second units. That Norman Powell is very solid, but I think Bradley Beal is a natural one, is a guy who I think can man a second unit in certain spurts without Kawhi Leonard and James Harden on the floor. That just gives you another push. You upgrade center, backup center, which LA the Clippers particularly had one of the worst backup center rotations in the NBA, and
Yeah,
they're in the same conference as the Denver Nuggets, by the way. Just throwing that
yeah,
out there. When we talk about backup centers, Denver Nuggets and the LA Clippers are not two teams you want to be favorable for if you're talking about the 2024-2025 season. This
yeah.
year, they come in with Brook Lopez at backup center. That's huge behind Ivica Zubac. So they really put themselves in a solid position this summer. You bring in John Collins as well. Like, I thought they did really good. I'm not saying that the LA Clippers 1,000% should have been on Christmas Day, but I am surprised that if they were gonna go with the OG slights and kind of lead in that way, I'm surprised that the Clippers didn't get one last gas, given the fact that James Harden and
Exactly.
those guys did look good towards the back half of the year before the playoffs.
Yeah, and this is Jay. I mean, like, just recognizable names: Kawhi, James
Yeah,
Harden, Chris Paul, Bradley Beal. These are just a bunch of guys that just it's just known throughout the league, known to even some of the casual fans. So I'm just surprised they're not in there.
yeah,
But I think overall, even though we do have our little quirks here and there, it's still a pretty good slate. I'm very excited for this Christmas Day slate.
yeah.
And Jay, what we're gonna do now is rank them from your least excited to your most excited, and kind of see like where we go from there. We're gonna create our own because we again, like we said, we have some of our problems, and I think we can make it better, Jay. Especially with the amount of storylines that the NBA is very much known for,
Yeah.
we can definitely make better. But Jay, out of all these teams, you want to start with most excited, or do you want to start with least excited?
Let's start with least excited. Let's build hype as we go along.
Sure. Okay. So out of these 5 games, Jay, like when you look at this slate, like which game are you like the least excited for?
So the one that I'm the least excited for, if I'm being honest, is the one I feel like we have a pretty good grasp on at this point because we've seen it enough. And I think we understand that these guys are solid. Minnesota versus Denver to me just feels like one that if it's not high stakes in the playoffs, I'm not really sweating it too much. We saw it. We saw Ant and those guys face off beforehand. We know how special Nikola Jokic is. Let's be honest, I don't even know how interested Nikola Jokic on Christmas even is nowadays when it comes to hooping. The guy's just going to casually walk himself into like a 14, 10, and 10 because he's probably not that engaged. He's more worried about getting back to the fam for a little while and getting on a certain kind of break before things really start to pick up on the back half of the season as the new year transfers over. I think that the Denver Nuggets are a solid team, but they're kind of slowly but surely becoming like Jokic is so special, but he's kind of fallen into the Tim Duncan slot of like
Yeah.
he's so special that we don't even acknowledge it for what it's worth anymore, and the rest of his team just plays really good brand of basketball. You got names like Aaron
Yeah.
Gordon, Cam Johnson's on the team. You bring back Bruce Brown. You know what I mean? It's a solid team, but like you might get yourself a highlight play here and there with an Aaron Gordon dunk or a crazy Nikola Jokic play, but it's not a whole lot of anything super
Interesting.
crazy going over there. And with Minnesota, I mean, look,
And
It's the Ant
and
Edwards show, and that's all of it right there. I'm gonna be
yeah.
honest. This team is in a really interesting spot. You lose Nikhil Alexander Walker. Obviously, you put yourself in a really solid position by being able to retain Julius Randle and Nas Reed. But this team didn't do a whole lot this past summer to get
Basically the
better.
same team. Yeah, basically the
Yeah.
same
So
team.
this is
Yeah.
a team that's running it back with Superman Ant wearing the cape. And other than that, you look at Julius Randle and think you got to ask yourself, TV. We've had this theory about Julius Randle have been pretty correct so far. Every other season, Julius Randle gets hit with the kryptonite and turns back into Clark Kent. Last year, he had the
Yeah.
cape on for a good part of the season and was looking damn near like an All NBA caliber player. Are we waving the kryptonite in front of Julius this year? And he goes back to being pedestrian, where we're throwing him in conversations with Tobias Harris like we used to do. I'm just
Yeah. No.
saying.
Yeah. No, I understand why you have that number 5. For me, Jay, like my number 5, funnily enough, Dallas at Golden State. I'm just like,
Interesting. Okay.
it's more like I feel like that's the most volatile matchup of the sense because we mentioned it before, and I think we quickly touched on it.
Uh-huh.
Dallas is like out of all these teams is the most likely to fall apart before Christmas.
Very true.
Very
Very true.
volatile. And it's not even that. I mean, yes, it's going to be great to see Clay back in Golden State, but we had that moment last year. We had that moment of him going back to Golden State and doing that. It doesn't hit the same like the second year after. And like besides that, like, there's not really much of a storyline there. Yes, it's going to be. Yes, I'm happy to see Cooper Flag, the number 1 overall pick, be in the Christmas spotlight again. Hopefully, like the Dallas Mavericks are at full strength by then.
Yeah.
But there's just nothing really to stick with teeth, and I love seeing Steph. And then there's just no, and there's not like any like internal beef. Like I feel like there's such an easy matchup you could have done here on Christmas, but you decided not to. And yes, you're gonna have like these two like teams with like very notable stars, 100%. And I'm glad again the number 1 pick is there, but it's just the most volatile. And I just think that out of all these games, I feel like as time goes on, as we get closer to the date, we're gonna like lose that bit of that luster going towards it.
I think that's fair. I think Golden State is in a really tricky position as well because you do have to ask yourself if it wasn't for the Stephen Curry star power, like how excited would people be about seeing Golden State on Christmas this year? I think
Yeah,
that alone is already kind of tricky. And then again, like you throw out there with the whole Dallas Mavericks thing being that Anthony Davis, we don't know. Obviously, Kyrie Irving is not going to be playing
he's not
by
gonna
this
be there
point
either.
for
Yeah,
right. So it
yeah,
is putting a lot of the star power onus on Cooper Flag, and the fact that Cooper Flag doesn't have like any real storyline static with Golden State, and neither does AD, even if he's healthy for that matter. If I'm being
yeah.
honest, it's one of those things where you have to really kind of ask yourself, like, I mean, is Golden State really a Christmas team anymore? And is Dallas
Well,
has Dallas
Steph is a
earned that
Christmas
spot?
guy. Steph is a Christmas guy. It doesn't matter
Steph is
who you.
definitely a Christmas guy. But then I would ask you, but then you have to follow up by asking, like you said, is Dallas really the team for that then?
Yeah,
If
no,
that's
just
gonna be the thing, you know?
yeah, no. There's a built-in matchup they could have done, and they just clearly just went away from it, which absolutely sucks. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's my number five. Jay, I'm gonna say my number four, and then you give me your number four.
Okay.
This is where I'm gonna have. I'm gonna have. Hmm. You know what? I'm gonna have Minnesota Denver. This is where I'm gonna have Minnesota Denver.
So
I
we're
think
in
like
we're inverted then. We're inverted.
yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna have Minnesota Denver here. I feel like I really enjoyed that matchup 2 years ago, and if they want to start creating these rivalries, obviously Ant versus the Denver Nuggets has been like a really good story for over the last couple of years. If we're gonna keep doing that, and this means like building up Anthony Edwards star power, if it means like having Nikola Jokic, who's again one of the most entertaining basketball players in the league, I'm happy to have it here. It just sucks that it's at 10:30. But in terms of again, this is the game for the sickos. This is where you want to see Anthony Edwards show out. This is where you want to see the best player in the league, Nikola Jokic, play. I'm good with the matchup. I feel like maybe there's a different matchup you could put here, and I'm gonna put that when we do our ideal Christmas schedule. But I understand like what you're saying there, especially with the surrounding cast and all that. Obviously, not
Mm.
the biggest markets, but this is why it's at 10:30. And if you want to stay up 10:30, like a lot of us basketball sickos want to, this is where you're gonna watch Minnesota Denver, and it's gonna be a damn good game.
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, like you said, it is like a sicko fan game for sure, and it's gonna be one of those that you might end up like really just paying attention more to the nuance aspect of the matchup because it's one of those that we could potentially see in the postseason,
Yeah,
just
at,
because
at least
we,
at least this team has history too. At least this team
yeah.
has history and
And
decent
I
defense.
think that has to be a big part of what you incorporate in the Christmas Day matchups, right? Because, like you said, storyline drive is so important for these kind of games because, like you said, the casual fan is incorporated. So, although, let's talk about a team like Orlando, for example, right? I think that there's plenty of storyline around Orlando this upcoming season. Paolo Banchero being a potential MVP candidate as a guy that's going to be on a top level team in the Eastern Conference with everything shaking out the way it
Mhm.
is, right? Jalen Suggs coming back healthy. Orlando was the first domino to fall in terms of making a move this past offseason, making the Desmond Bain trade. The Desmond Bain trade was what set the fire ablaze to then see the Kevin
Yeah,
Durant trade happen with Houston and so on and so forth,
yeah,
right? So you have the storyline of associating a team like the Orlando Magic as this team that made the first swing of the 2025 offseason to make themselves better and put themselves in position to be in that conversation as definitively a top three team in the East with everything that's been going on. You have them. You have Atlanta, who made real strides this offseason. And I think arguably had a top three offseason of anybody in the NBA this past summer. And they're putting themselves in a position to be able to build around Trae Young in a way that I don't think we've been able to confidently say since about 2021. Truthfully, right? So I think there's these different like when you look at the broad spectrum of inviting the casual fans, you have to be able to put that kind of spin on it to bring people in because you also have to understand TV going back to us pushing the young stars. Without that storyline, people can't get attached to those younger players. And without the platform, people don't know those players. So no storyline and no name equals no understanding. And when those names that we're so used to go, you're left holding the bag because you're not sure who even the main guys in the league are anymore. And I think the
yeah,
NBA has to work on that.
yeah, 100%. So that's my number four. Who do you have at your number four? Would it be like my number five? I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're in. Like I said, we're
yeah,
inverted.
we're
So
inverse. Okay, we're inverse.
yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
at number three, Jay, what do you have at number three?
So at number three for me, this is where San Antonio OKC is.
Okay.
Personally, I'm not gonna lie.
Interesting.
Just where I am, because I just think that these two teams are on two totally different tiers right now. I think that San Antonio is obviously solid. Victor Wembanyama, I gotta see a full season of him. I just have to. And I think in a matchup against Chet Holmgren, which we've seen in the past be a really good 1v1 in the front court, should be really entertaining. I think the guard back matchup, Kentucky versus Kentucky with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and De'Aaron Fox, should be really, really solid as well. I think the depth of Oklahoma City is going to put themselves in a really good position as usual. San Antonio has increased their depth at the guard position particularly, but how does it fit? Very interesting versus an Oklahoma City Thunder team that knows exactly who the heck they are right now. San Antonio probably on the different end of the spectrum with that, where they don't even know the full grasp of what they have in Victor Wembanyama just yet, as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned, right? So two teams on two totally different platforms here. I think that Oklahoma City is still a tier 1 team. I could see San Antonio being closer to like tier 3, tier 4 if we're talking about the
Okay.
entire league in terms of just like the talent discrepancy. You love to see Wemby on Christmas, but you just got to wonder if this is going to be a complete, belt to ass from OKC, because they're just
Hey
that
man,
dang good, bro.
I feel you. I feel you. I'm a bit higher on this matchup too. I'm actually gonna put number 3,
Okay.
Cleveland at New York. I
Okay.
think look, probably two of the best teams in the East going into this year,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
And I think like the fact that it's the first game to start today, obviously the MSG vibe is going to be absolutely immaculate.
Mm-hmm.
I think that these top 3 teams, like these top 3 games, are like there's like some sort of gap between
Yeah.
these and like the bottom 2. And I'm still super excited for this game. I like, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I have San Antonio and OKC at 2, mostly
Okay.
because Jay, like this is the young matchup that we've been waiting to see. We've been saying about like having like building up these young stars on the San Antonio side. Dylan Harper, Rookie of the Year Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox, Victor Wembanyama. If all is healthy, man, this San Antonio Spurs team, I know you say they're a tier 3, tier 4 team. They could surprise a lot of teams this year. Hopefully, like
Fair.
again, if hopefully they start to build up that chemistry and have a good record going into this game. And of course, OKC defending champions. You already know they're one of the youngest teams to ever win a championship. Period. So
Mm-hmm.
like the fact that you're seeing these two young stars battle it out, these two young cores, I just have a lot more investment in that matchup compared to a Cleveland, New York. Yes, they're the 2 best teams in the East, but again, storyline, I just don't. I mean, like, yes, the New York Knicks beat them like a couple years ago, right? And that's where you got the Jared Allen. Oh, the lights were too bright, sort of
Yeah.
the meme or
Right.
something like that. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I feel like you could have had a different matchup for both of these teams. So
Yeah.
like they're like, as much as I like that there's the 2 top teams in the East, I feel like there's just a better matchup there. San Antonio OKC, I F with it, bro. I fuck with it. So like I feel like that's my number 2.
I mess with it. I'm not really mad at it, like where your positioning is, because at the end of the day, like I don't think we're too far off. I'm
Yeah,
just not. I need Victor in particularly to really show me
yeah,
again, because
feel you.
I
No,
think
I
this is a
get it.
guy who
I
is a
get it.
top 10 player when healthy. But I feel like again, similar to a guy that might end up coming up on the podcast later on, Zion Williamson, we're
Yeah,
getting to this point, and it's not nearly as deep into his career as Zion is, for example, right? But we are
yeah,
slowly but surely creeping to this point where we have to ask ourselves, like, if we're going to be able to see a full year of Victor Wembanyama. Obviously, he hasn't been in the league that long, but his injury concerns was something that a lot of people were worried about coming into his career with the San Antonio Spurs, just given his size and frame. And so far, similar to Chet Holmgren, who got a lot of the same knocks, we have not been able to see a steady, consistent dose of Victor Wembanyama, which has hindered them a lot, and has in turn hindered the San Antonio Spurs team from being as good as they really could be, even with them being so young.
yeah. I'm just happy this is early enough in the year where Wemby usually gets like injured. What, February, March? So I'm just glad it's early enough in the year that they're hopefully both these teams are healthy. So yeah, I have those at number 2. I mean, like, what did you have at number 2? Did you have the MSG game?
So yeah, number 2 for me was the MSG game. Personally,
Yeah,
that's the one where first of all, I'm going to favor the East Coast game a little bit more, just because it's the only one.
yeah,
Right? I
fair,
would say
fair.
that this is the only game in the entire slate where the 2 top teams in the conference are facing off against each other. Every other matchup, very, very variable, I think you could say, in terms of where these teams are going to be
Yeah,
in the standings. I think that you can make a good case that Oklahoma City would be like a number 1, but I could see San Antonio somewhere between 6 and 8. Houston and Los Angeles, they're probably going to be somewhere fighting between the 2 and the 6 seed. Dallas and Golden State, I think they're going to be between that 5 to 8 range. Same thing with
Yeah,
Minnesota and Denver. I think Denver could be
yeah.
really good around that
Oh,
3
yeah,
spot, but
they're all playoff teams, but the positions could vary. Yeah,
yeah, I think there's a lot of like close your eyes and throw your dart ball, throw a dart at the dartboard, and like you just never know how the Western Conference is going to shake out. I think in this case with Cleveland and New York, until we see what Orlando really looks like, this is definitively the open matchup of like these are the two top teams in the Eastern Conference on paper, and I'm glad that we get to see them in this matchup. I have a different matchup in mind for my slate, just to be able to increase the Eastern Conference love a little bit. But I think with what they did showing the Eastern Conference what love they did, I think at least making it the two top teams in the East was the best way to go about it if you were only going to do one Eastern Conference match.
okay. Oh no, I feel you, and I understand that's your number two. That means
Yeah.
our number one, Jay. We have to say number one. Houston, Los Angeles. I mean,
Come on, man.
what's there to say? LeBron, Luka on one side. You have KD and the young OKC. I'm sorry, the young Houston group on the other side. Probably one of the last times we're gonna get that KD LeBron matchup. Go out, take advantage of it when you can.
Yeah.
I'm again. I would like there's a different matchup I would like for the Los Angeles Lakers, but I'm not mad at this one at all. I'm still probably gonna be the most hype looking for this one, just because we already know the amount of battles that KD and LeBron have had over the years. The fact that we can do this again still in 2025, you love to see it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, that's kind of the most important thing, right? Is that if you're going to maintain that nostalgic factor, two guys that have to play, KD, LeBron, have to play. The fact that they're
Yeah.
both in the same game only sends things even further up the roof. Are there other matchups that could be just as interesting with those guys in them? Sure. But those two guys facing up against each other, can't be mad at that either.
100%. That's why that is the ranking of our 5 games. Let us know what you guys think down below. But Jay, like we mentioned before, we can make this better,
I think
and we're gonna try and make the best possible Christmas Day schedule, and give me supporters because if this is good, this is good. This is gonna have people in their seats. But Jay, we know we could do better. We know we could do better. And that's what we're going to try and do with this schedule here. We're going to go through each time slot. Obviously, time slot matters. You want to make sure you want to have the most eyeballs on the right games and stuff like that. So we're going to go through each of the games. Jay, starting off with your first game of the day, what would you have over here?
All right, so first game of the day is always pretty tricky because you have to ask yourself, do you start out hype and then calm things down a little bit? It looks like the NBA went that route a little bit by starting at MSG and then kind of turning down the heat a little bit by, yes, putting them in OKC, but let's be honest, at the end of the day, that matchup is a little bit of a step back compared to being in Madison Square Garden. I'm going to stick with the same vibes here and start out strong, calm down a little bit, and then turn up the heat a little bit more afterwards,
Yeah,
right? So we're going to lean favor to Eastern Conference time zone because I think that's the best way to be able to get a good viewership experience as well. I'm going to keep the New York Knicks here. I think they should play at MSG, and TV already hinted at it. I feel like it already just makes sense. The Atlanta Hawks visit MSG. We already know the
I like
villain
it.
that is Trae Young should be in Madison Square Garden, but TV, you forget. Another individual that fits very well within this matchup is a guy who used to wear the blue and orange. Kristaps Porzingis plays center
Yeah,
for this Atlanta Hawks team and will return to MSG as
I
well
like it.
as
I
part of
like
a
it.
revamped Atlanta Hawks team. Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson healthy, Zachary Risachet in season 2. You add Kristaps Porzingis, you get Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You have two hard-nosed defensive teams against each other, and you have two lead point guards that you know how to get buckets in Trae Young versus Jalen Brunson. Kick off the
I
day
like
with the
it.
villain versus the mob, I guess.
100%. I really do like that matchup. If we were going to do another Eastern Conference matchup, that would 100% be the one. Everyone still was clinging on to that Trae Young at MSG thing. And that was like from what, 2021? You
Yeah.
know that he still has an impact, and you know Knicks fans still hate him. You want to have that type of energy as the first game of the day. You love to see it. But Jay, I'm actually going to repeat a matchup from last year from the 12 o'clock show
Okay.
because I'm going to have Spurs in New York again. I want to have that matchup. I want Wemby underneath the MSG lights. And last year, he put on a damn good performance. He had I think a 30+ point performance, a near triple double with blocks. You want to have that type of like star be underneath the bright lights. You know the Knicks are a very good team as well, making it to the deep into the playoffs in consecutive years. And of course, you have like a really revved up Spurs team, a healthy Spurs team. So in terms of matchups, it's not like it's like that big of a gap like it would be for Thunder Spurs, right? I think it's going to be a bit more of a competitive matchup.
Yeah.
And if you want to continue to build Wemby, we talk about building stars. You want to have them in the biggest environments, and it doesn't get much bigger than MSG. let's run it back. It was a fun game last year. I want to repeat it this year. Give me Spurs versus the Knicks.
Definitely not mad at it. I think that if you're gonna put Wemby in the mix, he definitely needs to be playing in a big market situation where he can be under the bright lights and be featured really heavily. I think that if you're gonna do a cross conference matchup, going up against the New York Knicks, not a bad way to go about it.
100%. Jay, the 2:30 matchup. I don't know if you're gonna like go balls to the walls here, just keep like raising the stakes. Who do you have in your 2:30 matchup?
I'm going to be honest. I think this one is a little controversial, and this might be one that I'm kind of building the storyline a little bit up, a little further than maybe it's worth. But
Yeah.
this is just something that I think is interesting to me, and I want to continue to show a little bit of love to the Eastern Conference at the beginning because we know that everybody towards the Western Conference is going to start really favoring things when everyone's circled around the tree, eating food, and really
Yeah.
locked into the game, right? So the second half of the day, the Western Conference games will be a lot more favored. But I'm going to get the Eastern Conference out the way, and I wanted to give them one more game because I feel like it's deserving, right? And I think the Cleveland Cavaliers, as a team that could finish as the top seed in the East, should be in the mix on Christmas. And what team should they face, you ask? The team I was just highlighting a second ago that I think could make a lot of noise as the third best team, if not better, in the East, being the Orlando Magic, a team they faced off against in the playoffs 2 years ago. TV, the storyline is very simple. The Cleveland Cavaliers have a core four that has one more season left before we're going to see a real shakedown. Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen, and Evan Mobley. There's a chance that if this core four doesn't start off the year on a good note, by the NBA trade deadline, that core four could be down to 3 Musketeers. On the other side, you have the Orlando Magic, who just completely sold the farm to build their core four, and they need to know that this core four is going to work for the long haul. Paulo Banchero, Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs, Desmond Bane, all locked in for the next 3 to 4 seasons, if not a little bit further. But in terms of them all together as a group, the next 3 seasons. And they need to know how they stack up against the rest of the Eastern Conference in terms of making a run for the championship. Because a year like this one, where you got the Celtics and you got the Pacers down, it's a year where you have to really ask yourself as the Magic, if we're going to be as good as we say we think we are on paper, we got to be able to take out the only 2 teams that's really in the way. That's the New York Knicks and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And guess what? You can't face New York on Christmas. Atlanta's already handling that business. The next team you got to face is the team you couldn't get past, but you almost pushed because they went 7 games that year.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Cavaliers in the second round matchup. I think you hosted at Cleveland. Give the wine and gold the favor because they're the team that likely will also be, the most eyeballs on during the regular season because of the fact that this is a make or break year for them. So while one core four is fighting for the sustainability of continuing the wrath that they've been on over the last couple of seasons of being a 50-plus win team over the last handful of years, but been on the chopping block just about every summer, we've got the other team with a core four that's coming to take that spot.
I like it. I absolutely like it. So that's a good matchup. Again, my only thing is like, I mean, we talked about this beforehand. Jay has like more Eastern Conference teams than I do. I'm actually just gonna tell you right now, I'm keeping just the same 2, and that's about it. Because I feel like there's a lot more storylines going on over there in the West this year in general. But this is what I'm talking about, man. We need to have like more of these opportunities for the East to prop itself up. Put a freaking focus on the Orlando Magic. We've seen how good Paolo Banchero can be. Give him the platform so he can show the rest of the world what he could do, and I think Christmas Day would be a great time for that.
Yeah.
But Jay, I'm trying to and balance this out, bro. I want there to be a marquee matchup here. So it's going to be kind of balls to the wall, but at the same time, we want to make sure that no matter what point of the day, you want to have like eyeballs on the screen and you want to have players that people know.
Okay.
Jay, at 2:30, give me the Rockets versus the Warriors.
Okay.
Give me the Rockets taking on the Warriors. Jay, it's ironic that you have the Golden State Warriors with Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy Butler. They defeat the Houston Rockets in round 1 last year.
Mm-hmm.
They come back into this season and add Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
This is a very similar storyline, obviously not to the biggest extent, where the Golden State Warriors lose to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they come back the following year with Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
So now they're going to be on the other foot of that. You could definitely play that up. You could definitely show a bunch of the clips of, Steph, Draymond, and Durant playing with each other, feeding to the fact that, they kind of left on bad terms, according to, especially because a lot of us NBA fans know that. Bring that into the storyline, and it's definitely a young versus old matchup, but this is a good chance, and this is what I'm talking about, like using like the Steph Curry rub, using the Kevin Durant rub, and giving a chance for the rest of the fans to see what an Alperen Şengün could do, put more eyes on an Amen Thompson, and I think this type of matchup would be great. We're going balls to the wall already at 2:30, but I'm gonna have this matchup over there.
No, I like it. I think at the end of the day, Houston has to be featured somewhere in here. I think the 2:30 slot is a really good one. You might have even given me an idea for how I want to frame this next one at 2:30. And I think that Golden State is a team that you do have to heavily consider, again, because the Steph fireworks is just so important in terms of being able to bring all eyes to the game. I think it's going to be really important to see how they kind of feature those in there. And again, like you said, the storyline of the squad came back with a Kevin Durant addition. We've seen this movie before, and it had quite the effect on the league. The Houston Rockets adding Kevin Durant was one of the biggest storylines of the summer, and it was one of the most interesting things in terms of the sports books, because Houston's odds to win the championship were in a pretty solid spot without Kevin Durant. They added my boy to the roster. And they were picked to come out the Western Conference in the preseason so far. It's looking spooky with the Houston Rockets, and I think that that's an interesting matchup to feature him against, like you said, his old squad.
His former team, you don't, and especially if you have this game in Golden State, to have the reaction of the fans, that you won't have that energy. That's some great energy. But again, that's a 2:30 game. Like Jay said, he has the 12 and 2:30 game already with the East teams. This is where he's going to start bringing in the West teams now when we go into the 5 o'clock matchup. This is where we're going to start. Jay, like I mentioned, this is when the family starts coming in. This is when you have eyes around the TV and you want to have like the eyeballs on the best matchups. What are you going to have at your 5 o'clock game?
Yeah, man. So we're in the middle pocket here, man. And we're at game 3 of the day, and we need something spicy. And I'm trying to be a little toxic here, right? One of the biggest things that I thought was really interesting about this summer was a lot of people were feeling a little nostalgic. Did you see, TP?
Yeah.
Damian Lillard went back to Portland.
Yeah.
CP3 goes back to the Clippers.
Yeah.
What if KD had to go look OKC back in the face after a championship?
Wow.
TV, the Houston Rockets were a very interestingly discussed roster. But guess what? When a lot of the trade discussions were being centered around Kevin Durant, you know, an interesting team that kept coming up as a possible just let's go completely crazy. The idea of like what was the equivalent of back in the day when we saw that DeMarcus Cousins was signing with the Golden State Warriors after they already had KD, Steph, Draymond, and Clay. We're thinking, wait a minute, healthy D Cousins on this? Like, okay. This is just getting absolutely absurd. You know the team that was going to be that team this upcoming year? The Oklahoma City Thunder, with everybody saying that they had the scratch to go get Kevin Durant from the Suns, and it didn't happen. Instead, the Houston Rockets and their young guns went and brought in Kevin Durant, and now he has a chance, you know, putting himself back in a real position to win games. 2 very defensive-oriented teams, young Buck squads, and some bucket getters in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and KD going back at it as 2 OKC legends.
I like
throw down in OKC, man. I think that's a good way to, and potentially the top 2 teams coming out of the Western Conference by the time this whole thing is said and done.
No, 100%. I do very much like that matchup. I was thinking about that matchup, but they're doing it opening night, and I think like KD seeing OKC raise that trophy and he wasn't a part of it. I feel like that's a good storyline. But again, having that on Christmas, A+. That's still going to be a great game to have there.
Yeah.
At 5 o'clock for myself, Jay, I still have the Thunder in this matchup.
Okay.
But I want to go with a matchup that people maybe predicted too early for it to be the finals matchup. But there was a chance it was going to happen. Give me the 2 best teams from each conference last year. Give me the Thunder. Give me the Cavs. The battle of the young cores. This is where you want to say, this is the best of the future has to offer. Donovan Mitchell, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, all of the J-Dub, all of these young talents, some of the best that we have going forward, and having those 2 great teams. Potential finals matchup, Jay, too.
Sure.
Potential finals matchup. You can maybe project that a little bit, have a dead center in the middle of the day, and just have just the 2 best teams of either conference just battle it out.
Yeah,
you don't need much storyline besides that. You just need to have the best 2 teams battle it out.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think at the end of the day, the biggest thing and most important thing is, like you said, seeing some of the best talent face off each other is going to be really important on this day as it is. But seeing top teams go bat for bat is going to be the thing that gives us a litmus test for when we start to get closer to the postseason. We're like, okay, I think we have a good understanding of how these 2 teams could face off if they meet each other in the first round. You want to get a taste of that early because some of these teams,
you want to plant the seeds.
You want to plant the seeds, and you might get that chance. Let's go back to my Thunder versus Rockets game from right before, right? that might be a matchup you don't see until the Western Conference Finals. You want to sprinkle those seeds early to set the tone to say, for example, you mentioned with that game how they already face each other on opening night. Guess what? Somebody got to get their lick back. And
Yeah.
Christmas wouldn't be
So
a bad day to get
yeah,
that gift under the Christmas tree of getting that lick back from that matchup. You just never know. I think the
yeah,
same thing could be said for something like this.
yeah. Thunder Cavs, I think, just showcase of the best young talent that you got in the league, and you have two of the best teams from either conference. So you can't really go wrong with that. Jay, the primetime show, 8 p.m. This is the one where everyone's going to have their eyes on. This is where you had the Lakers Warriors last year having that fantastic game. You want to have this is like the primetime spot. What match are we going to have here? I have a feeling we have the same matchup here.
Probably TV because it's called DJ Run That Back. We go ahead and put the Lakers and the Warriors back in the mix. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Okay.
For me, I know that you already have the Warriors playing, but for me, I'm DJ running it back. The Lakers playing against the Warriors. It's just, I mean, come on, man. Steph,
It's money. It's
LeBron,
money.
it's
It's money.
pocket presence right there. Obviously, we're at the marquee. This is the marquee Western Conference game as far as the time slot is set. This is the one where, of course, you got Luka, Steph, Braun, Draymond, Jimmy. Go down to hey, for my Austin Reeves sickos out there, you got him in the
Yeah.
mix as well. I mean, this is one of those matchups where, of course, you know it's going to be a good game. By Christmas, you know there's going to be at least a little bit of Western Conference static there in terms of the seeding, because we already know by the time the new year is set, the Western Conference is already starting to get in shambles.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. By Christmas Day, the Western Conference already starts not making sense to anybody. So
Yeah.
this will be a game that has a little bit of implications behind it. And again, man, look, we only get so many more of these. We only
I feel
do
you.
TV.
I feel you. I
We
feel
only
you.
get so many. So if we're gonna be going with the OGs, give me the two best OGs in the game, man.
Yeah, I get it. Lakers, Warriors, you can't go wrong with that. That's going to be money every single time you put it on TV. And that's the reason why every time they go up on TV against each other, the NBA is going to market the shit out of it. So you want to make sure, if you want to have it on the biggest stage, put it on Christmas. Love to see it.
Yep.
But Jay, I thought we are going to have the same here. I feel like this is just, I mean, it's the biggest layup matchup of all time. Just run back Lakers, Mavs. Just run back Lakers, Mavs.
I feel that.
Have it back in Dallas, have it in LA, doesn't really matter. Anthony Davis versus his former team. Luka trying to drop a 50 ball every single time he sees Dallas, he sees red. Of course, you have the number one pick over there, so getting the Luka / LeBron rub and seeing Cooper Flag amongst the greats of the game is already going to be a crazy image. Imagine like a Christmas Day picture where you have Luka guarding Cooper Flag in a post, or LeBron and vice versa. Like, the story writes itself. There's not much we need to know. We already know the trade happened. That trade freaking reached the ends of the earth in terms of like the type of people it reached in terms of media coverage. You had to run it on Christmas, and the fact that they're not doing it on Christmas, that's the only thing that makes me sad. But in my ideal scenario, give me Lakers Mavs, and we're gonna put it in the primetime slot. It couldn't happen any other way.
I mean, also storyline wise, I really do like that one a lot because, of course, the Luka dynamic is just going to be super important. And obviously, another chance to be able to feature Cooper Flag in a real way, which is going to be important for this draft class in particular because there's a lot of hype behind Cooper. We got to see it on the floor, and he's inserted on a good team out the gate, something we're not used to with a lot of first overall
number one
picks.
picks.
It'll be interesting to see how he faces off against, the former guy in Dallas in a situation where, again, these two teams are going to be jockeying for position in the Western Conference because, let's be honest, it's going to be a bloodbath all year.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's why we're going to have that matchup. But again, the Lakers Warriors, that's something where you're like, okay, you just can't go with that.
Yeah.
As long as you have LeBron, you have Steph on the court, it's going to be must-watch basketball. And we can only do this so many more times, so make sure you put it on the biggest stages. Jay, 10:30 game. What do you want ending the day? I know, like, this is maybe when people are trying to start fell to bed and all that, but you still want to have a massive matchup. What are you going to have to end the day?
TV, it's only right that Anthony Edwards plays at some time.
Thank you.
On Christmas, right? But TV, what's Anthony Edwards' nickname here on the podcast?
The OG killer.
And what team is well known for its handful of OGs in the Western Conference?
I like it. I had a feel you're going to go this route.
Let's add a little bit more star power to close out the night as well, but put together the OG Slayers' greatest feat of slaying down a handful of legends. The unction that is the LA Clippers. Kawhi Leonard, Houston has a problem because guess what? James Harden will not be having any strip clubs that night. He's just going to be very sad and very tired. Chris
Yeah.
Paul, very much back on the roster.
Mm.
Brooke Lopez, Bradley
Yeah.
Beal. Man, when you go down the roster, man, it's a bunch of OGs. Like you said, the unction is in full effect, and no player is better at giving a guy his cane and walking him to the retirement home than Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, no, 100%. I 100% agree with that. I had a feeling they were gonna end on that type of note. And if you want to again push the Legend Killer gimmick on Anthony Edwards, the nickname of the Legend Killer, the OG Slayer,
Hey,
then
man.
you gotta pair him with the unction. You gotta pair him with
You
the unction.
know?
I like it. Jay, I had two matchups that I thought I was gonna put here. I was trying to convince myself to try and like run back and do the two best centers in the league, Jokic and Embiid. But I feel like we're like years past that at some point. It feels kind of icky to
Yuck.
do it now. And can you rely on Joel Embiid to make that matchup? Probably not. So I was gonna stay away from that. But I still want Nikola Jokic in there. And Jay, I was really trying to convince myself: do I want to take Anthony Edwards out? Do I want to put in the unction and like really feed into that? Jay, I'm just gonna keep the 10:30 game to say. Give me the. I really like. I know it's going to end on a pretty like on an uneventful note, at least in terms of our schedules. But I'm leaving the 10:30 game the same. Give me Timberwolves. Give me the Denver Nuggets. They have history. I want Anthony Edwards to play on Christmas. End the night strong. You have the best player in the league in Nikola Jokic. Revamp Nuggets team. I'm cool with that ending the night, and I'm not going to change that.
I'm not mad at it. Like you said, for the basketball sickos out there, this is just a matchup that we've already seen in a real way. We know there's some history there, as you mentioned beforehand. Yeah, it looks a little bit different without Karl Anthony Towns in the mix, but these are still two teams that are going to be vying for real space in the Western Conference.
Yeah, like
People are
both these teams might be top 4 teams in the freaking West.
and I'm glad you're saying it because a lot of people are very hype about what the Denver Nuggets were able to do this summer, bringing in Bruce Brown, trading for Cam Johnson, being able to position themselves to get real depth at the center position, but bringing in Nurkic. They've done a lot of things to be able to clean up the edges.
Jonas Valanciunas.
Valanciunas, excuse me. But at the same time, all of that is starting to cause this little commotion around the Timberwolves where we're not hearing about them in the same light that we were last season or the season before. And I'm starting to think they're getting slept on a little bit. Don't get me wrong, some of that might be the Julius Randle curse that is his every other season problem. But the other part of that might just be the fact that people are sleeping on the fact that the T-Wolves, despite losing to Nikhil Alexander-Walker, are still a really good, well-constructed roster. And they've got Terrence Shannon Jr. and my boy Rob Dillingham coming up the pipeline very soon as well. So
yeah, no, 100%. You want to have those, especially if you want to have your, in the NBA sense, your biggest American star going forward, your biggest American star. Like, you got to have him on Christmas Day. You got to have Anthony Edwards there. And you got to have the 3-time MVP at this point in Nikola Jokic. You need to have him there. So I'm going to have that end tonight.
Yeah.
What other matchups you guys want to see? Do you agree or disagree with our schedules? Do you like the current schedule that the NBA put together? Let us know down below. If there are any other matchups that we missed out on that you think you could build better than us.
TV, do you want to read your slate out one more time for the people to compare their list with ours?
Sure. My Christmas Day list. We're starting off today. Spurs next. Wemby and MSG. Let's run that back from last year. Number 2, KD returning back to Golden State. You have the Rockets versus the Warriors. The Warriors took them out last year, and they brought in KD just like the Warriors had to bring in KD after losing to the Cavs. Obviously not on the biggest stage, obviously, but we have that matchup there. 5 o'clock, Thunder Cavs. Self-explanatory. Best two teams from last year, regular season-wise. Let's put a matchup there. Lakers versus the Mavericks. Need I say more? Luka Doncic versus his old team. AD returning back to LA. All the stories write itself. And then I'm just going to keep the 10:30 game the same. Give me the Nuggets versus the Wolves. They've shown they can play some good games in the past. I'm going to say, let's do it again on Christmas.
Yeah, man, in my NBA Christmas game slate, the perfect ideal spots would be for me to kick things off with the New York Knicks taking on the Atlanta Hawks. It writes itself. Trae Young and Kristaps Porzingis get to come to MSG and play supervillain against the Knicks, who are going to be rowdy at the crib. Give me the Orlando Magic versus the Cleveland Cavaliers next up. 2 core fours on 2 totally different trajectories. The core 4 of the Cavs are playing to keep themselves together. The core 4 of the Magic are playing to keep themselves in the mix as one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference coming into a year where a lot of people are high on them. Number 3, that third slot, the Rockets versus the Thunder. KD either is getting his lick back or putting his foot down after the opening night matchup against the Thunder where he sees those folks put on a ring on their finger. Man, he's not having it. And the Thunder are also going to have SGA try to defend that spot as the best Thunder in NBA history. Then, 4th spot, Lakers, Warriors. It speaks for itself. Braun, Luka, Jimmy, and you have Steph in the mix. Come on, man. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And then Timberwolves versus Clippers. Like we said, it's the OG Slayer versus the Unction. That is the Clippers with their OG squad. And you have the Timberwolves with Anthony Edwards, who just loves sending players into retirement. And guess who's already on the way out? CP3. Anthony Edwards just going to help you to the door.
Absolutely love it. Let us know which schedules of ours is better. Can you create a better one like I mentioned? Let us know down below. And again, your thoughts on the current Christmas Day schedule. Jay, we're 50 minutes into the podcast and we're finally getting into the top 10 power forwards. And this was so difficult.
Yeah.
Even again, like I said, I opened this back up earlier today and I'm still having my doubts about this list. But there's no wrong way to put it. There's so many great power forwards in the league. Jay, just your quick thing, like how hard was it to make this list?
Man, this was pretty difficult. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought last week was a little touch and go, but obviously the top spots were kind of like, pretty obvious once we kind of nailed down who we thought were, the main positions. And I think me and TV kind of had the same top 5. It just depended on who you were fighting for in those slots. But this episode, I'm interested to see if we land on the same people by the time we get to the 5.
Jay, I'm going to go straight to our honorable mentions because
Woo!
you said you had a list, I had a list. I think we're going to have a lot of guys that like similar who didn't make it on. Jay, my honorable mentions. Zion didn't make my list. I didn't have Zion on my list.
Okay.
I didn't have Lauri Markkanen on my list, who I know he was injured a lot last year, still a damn good basketball player.
True.
Jalen Johnson is not on my list, which is like after a great season he did last year. Obviously, he had to end it early with injury. Still a damn good power forward, and the fact that he's like not a top 10 power forward feels weird to say, but he's still in my honorable mentions. Aaron Gordon, one of the best, auxiliary options, one of the best guys who can just fit into any other scenario. You would love to have him on this list, but sadly he's not. Top 3 defensive player of the year, Draymond Green is not on my list, Jay. This is how deep the freaking power forward position is. That you don't even have someone like Draymond on the list.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, OG Anunoby's not on my list.
TV, I'm going to be honest with you. You listed the honorable mention pretty much to a T. There's one inflection point.
One, okay.
But other than that, we are bar for bar with that same list. I had Lauri Markkanen, OG Anunoby, Aaron Gordon, and Jalen Johnson directly off my list. Draymond Green was further down in my honorable mentions list. But those 4 guys were the key ones that were like vying for that 10th spot, and I just couldn't give it to them.
All right. That's just the honorable mentions. So that's already some like borderline all-star guys, borderline superstar guys. This is how deep this power forward. This is why we're saying how tough it was.
Yeah.
But Jay, we're gonna do like we did before. We're gonna go through our 10 through 6, and then we'll go to our top 5 individually afterwards. Jay, go through your 10 through 6.
All right, TV. So the propaganda's got me. Zion Williamson is at number 10.
Okay.
Propaganda's got me. At number 9, we have Jaren Jackson Jr.
Okay.
At number 8, I have Chet Holmgren.
Okay.
At number 7, I have Paul George. And at number 6, I have friend of the show, Julius Randle.
Julius Randle at number 6. I love to see that. Absolutely love to see that. I feel ashamed that maybe it's the bias in me. I don't know. You just didn't even have him as your honorable mention. Jay, that's disrespectful to me. Absolutely disrespectful. Jay, here's my top 10.
Okay.
I was up at 10 to 6. At number 10, I can't believe you didn't even have any honorable mention. Scotty Barnes is my number 10. Scotty Barnes is my number 10.
All right.
Forward in the league.
He's in that conversation as well. You're right.
He's in. So I'm gonna have Scotty Barnes at number 10. At number 9, I got Chet Holmgren.
Okay.
At number 9. At number 8, I have Paul George.
Okay. We're kind of step for step so far.
At number 7, I got Julius Randle.
Okay, see? Yeah, okay, we're step for step.
I have Julius, friend of the show, Julius Randle. Recently high on my list.
Yeah.
And at number 6, I have Jaren Jackson Jr.
Okay, so really our list isn't that different besides Zion for Scotty, and you're just higher on Jaren Jackson. That's not bad. Not bad.
It's pretty similar.
Yeah.
Is there like I was like, this is one of the things I did last minute because I had Chet Holmgren a little bit higher on the list,
Okay.
but then I really like took like a gander at Julius Randle. I'm like, yo, he actually like found a way to like carve himself a role in a place
Yeah.
where I thought it wasn't going to be great, but he did really well in the regular season. Obviously, the end of the playoff run wasn't as great, even though he had a fantastic first round. By the way, I don't want to take anything away because he was amazing in that first round versus the Los Angeles Lakers, but he's still very good.
Yeah.
Still like a near all NBA caliber talent. Paul George was a weird one. I think we both had him like you had him 7, I had him 8, so not too far apart at all.
Yeah.
But I can't, even though there was a bit of a drop off last year in terms of the injury, I can't pull him out completely. So I have that, and then I guess the only other guy I have like super high is like Jaren Jackson compared to you.
So
Yeah.
in discussing this section, the two discrepancies we had was probably just like you said, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Zion Williamson versus Scotty. So tell me, right? And you're the Raptors fan on the podcast, so there
Yes.
might be a little bit of bias, but tell me what you believe is the reason to bump Scotty into that top 10. Not just above Zion, but think about the list you gave. Laurie, OG, Aaron Gordon, Jalen Johnson. What put you in the perspective to put Scotty Barnes at that number 10 slot?
I think people really underestimate his all around game, and I think this is the reason why people are not as high on him. And obviously, you're going to look at the Raptors' defensive stats and all that. He is an elite defender. I honestly think if you guys just check him out as an individual guy and the way that he's grown, I know his efficiency took a dip from his All-Star season of the year prior, but improved playmaking. The scoring is still near 20 points per game. The three-point shot, you want to bounce back up, but I think he will. But the defense, Jay, I think that's the biggest difference from like any other year I've seen of Scotty Barnes. He has become one of the most switchable defenders in the league, a guy that can defend, I can comfortably say, positions 1 through 4. This is how good of a defender Scotty Barnes can be. He is absolutely hounding on that end. And although he might not be able to be the number one guy on the Toronto Raptors long term, he's going to be the linchpin as to like being that Swiss Army knife, being able to be that second or third option. I just think that with the way the Raptors season went last year, and it's hard to have a grasp on the Raptors season last year because the amount of injuries we had earlier in the year, the fact that we were trying to tank our ass off to try and get to get as high in the lottery as we can. But Scotty Barnes just continues to get better, and people are going to look at his stats saying, "Oh, how come he's dropped since his third year?" His game just continues to get better, and he's just improving in like so many aspects. And I think you'll see this year when the Raptors become. We'll talk about over and unders eventually. I do think the Raptors will be a playoff team and one of the top 8 seeds. You're going to see like especially next to like a lot of those other defenders that the Raptors have, Scotty Barnes is going to be a standout, and this could be a year where I truly believe he's going to have like an all defense presence at this point. Like I really think that people really need to lock into that Scotty Barnes defensive improvement, and I think it's going to be like even on full display this year. It's one of those things, right? You know, where OG Anunoby in the past, we knew he was a good defender, but people really started noticing when he left the Raptors and went to the New York Knicks. Maybe it's because the Raptors don't get much coverage. And I feel like Scotty Barnes is in that same boat. He is an all defensive level defender. I feel like once you go into the playoffs, once the Raptors get some postseason buzz, he's going to get some of that recognition. So I have Scotty Barnes right there. Compared to the other guys like Zion, again, just not enough of there. I mean, you've seen a freaking pattern on my list. There's not enough there for me, like enough high level play being available for your team there to have you on the list. He's honestly the first guy off. In my opinion, he was the first guy off.
Fair.
But he's like right there for me. I just want to see it for more than like. I just want to see him be out there on the court and like give the Pelicans a chance.
Yeah.
Pelicans have just not had the chance the last couple of years. And against all the other guys, I feel like Scotty's all around game puts him slightly over them. I understand if like other people will have like some of the guys in the honorable mentions above him. But having a close eye on him and like really seeing the development that he's done over the past 4 years, I think still warrants a top 10 spot here.
I think that's totally fair. I think Scotty being my first one off is like a lot more realistic than despite the fact that I didn't have him in that order for audible mentions. I could see Scotty Barnes being closer to my first guy off than my last guy in the top 10. And that's mainly the main reason why that happened is because, like I told you at the top of my list, I said I got caught up in the Zion Williamson propaganda again. I'm telling.
I
It's
feel,
just
I feel you. It's hard not to.
it's
hard.
like at the end of the day, the peak of powers version of this guy, even if you only get 40 games of it, is still just better than a lot of these guys that we put on this honorable
I
mentions
get
list,
it.
man. And I feel like this is a year where all the expectations for the Pelicans are as ground level as it gets. I don't think
It's as big of
expectations
a
can be.
reset. It's as big of a restart as any other team, except they still have Zion as their number one guy.
Yeah, I think that the expectations could not be lower for any team that has this good of a talent on the roster than what the New Orleans Pelicans are walking in with next season. And I think that because they had such an injury-riddled last 2 years, I just have a weird feeling that the basketball gods are going to smile on them very heavy, like very faithfully this year. And this team is going to be surprisingly healthy. And if Zion Williamson gets 60 plus games on this team, I'm not saying they make the playoffs, but I'm saying if you get 60 plus games of this guy, you're going to see a guy that's going to be very, very much in the mix for an all NBA spot because anytime he's played healthy, he's been a guy that we've had to have in that conversation. We haven't said that. We've maybe said that about Laurie Marketing once. OG Anunoby, Aaron Gordon, Jalen Johnson. We haven't had that conversation yet. The next closest guy, I think, is a guy like Scotty Barnes. When we're talking about at the peak of their power, 65 plus games healthy, this guy's for sure in the All NBA conversation. I think at that 10 spot, Zion and Scotty are the two guys fighting for that most likely to be in that conversation kind of discussion. I'm just going with Zion because, like I said, the peak of powers version of him. Again, I'm caught up in the propaganda. I think that they're going to be a team that doesn't get discussed about a lot. And toward the back half of the year, they're the one breaking people's brackets when they think they know who the final 8 teams in the Western Conference is.
I feel no, 100% agree. It's easy. It's very easy. I mean, like to see like the Zion at the peak of his powers and say, "There's just no way he's not," because of the
Yeah.
talent he 100% is.
Yeah.
But I docked some points from like the Paul Georges, the Kawhi Leonard
True.
for like not being available. Zion does that to like a whole new level.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. And the thing is, it's like you know how good of an offensive force he can be.
Mm,
And I'm glad that he's played even a decent amount of games last year. I still want to see more from that.
yeah.
But not seeing it in like in a playoff setting, not seeing that deep in like just for like a longer stretch of time is just I just need to be more convinced. And he's my first guy off, but easily if he has a 60 plus game season, potentially in a playing spot, just to see how he is being the leader of this team,
Yeah.
I'll be back. I'll be back. You know, I'll be back in it.
And then TV, not as much love for starting point guard of the Memphis Grizzlies, Ja Morant, on your list compared to me, but very much higher on Jaren Jackson than I am this upcoming year. What's that about? I'm interested to hear why you had him kind of at the tippity top of this section of the list.
I really am invested in his like improvement on the offensive end. I mean, we talked about it last year. When John Morant was out, he was able to take the reins as the number one guy, and he actually stepped up in a pretty big way. I don't think people really gave him as much credit that he still put on in less minutes, by the way, under 30 minutes per game. It's just crazy numbers on better efficiency, 49% from the field, almost 38% from three, which is second to only his sophomore season. Continues to be an all defensive guy. He made all defensive second team. He was in the top 3 all defensive mix all year long, Jay.
Yeah.
And I think he just finished right inside the top 3. Still at 22 points per game. The rebounding obviously is an issue. The blocks is not as high as it was in his defensive player of the year season, but it's still one of the best rim protectors in the league. And of course the fouls are there, but it's starting to tick lower a little bit. I'm a big investor in his offensive growth, and I still think he's one of the best rim defenders, one of the best big man defenders in the league. I think there's a gap between 5 and 6, not a big gap, but a decent gap.
Mm.
But I think he is still at the top of this section, at least in my opinion.
I think that's a fair way to put it. I think the reason why I dinged Jaren Jackson Jr. was the same reason I was a little bit off with putting Zion any higher than 10, which is, again, has only played 30 minutes per game one season. Of course, last season he played 29.8. I'll give him the favor to that one, but been in the league where most of his career he's played less than 30 minutes a game. And averages nearly 4 fouls a game. TV, you hinted at it, but it's very much a scary situation when your lead power forward guy that slides to center every now and then is your main rim protector and has been even dating back to the times with Steven Adams on the squad. Your main rim protector is also the most dangerous guy when you're talking about being able to pick up fouls that take him off the floor in a hurry. That's one of those things that concerns me. He's improved as a three-point shooter. Maybe not the stretch big everybody thought he was going to be after his rookie season, but still hitting the three at a pretty
Hey,
decent clip.
38% on 5.5 attempts per game is still pretty damn
Yeah,
good.
hitting it
Yeah.
pretty damn good. That is elite for that kind of volume. For 5 attempts
Yeah.
per game, 38% is really, really good. Definitely stepping into that stretch big role a lot more over the last season or two. Maybe not what we thought he was going to be overall as a stretch big type, but I think as a guy who's mainly a shot blocker, rim defender type, the fouls scare me. The amount of time that he's able to stay on the floor concerns me a little bit as well. So I dinged him a bit for that, but nothing enough to knock him out of the top 10 because this is a guy that when healthy, he's a DPOY candidate and he doesn't play 30 minutes a game. If you could be a DPOY guy and you're not even playing to the full max potential, I guess, that's a guy that you do have to kind of keep in the mix. Similar to Chet Holmgren, I think it was one of those things where like I did ding the minutes a little bit. I mean, I ding the injury history a little bit. And, I did favor ball handling with guys like Julius Randle and Paul George in comparison to guys who are mainly defense first dudes in Chet Holmgren and Jaren Jackson Jr. Very
Jaren is
different for
not
me
bad on
because,
the he's not bad on the dribble though. He's getting better. That's what I'm talking about.
true.
Like his offensive ceiling growing. Like even like him creating his own shot has been a lot better these last 2 years. But I understand where you're going from with this. We said again we had Julius Randle pretty high as well. Paul George is still firmly in our top 10.
Yeah.
Showing love to those guys. I know we had a bit of a Paul George mishap last week, but now
Yeah.
in the power forward spot, we still have him in the top 10. And I think
Yeah.
just to show like we're not going to be fully off board. If he still continues to do what he did last year, this year, he's probably just fully off our list general.
Yeah.
But we're giving him Paul George. We're giving you one more chance, buddy. We're giving you one more chance to stay on this list and potentially like keep your name here. So it's interesting to see what Paul George's season is going to look like going forward.
Yeah.
Jay, top 5. I have a feeling we have the same 5 names then. If this is what we had 10 through 6, it's just the order, which is interesting.
Okay.
Let's go to our number 5s. Who do you have at number 5?
He has to anoint himself first, and I think that's going to have a lot to do with showing up in big games. Number 5 for me is Paulo Banchero.
I have Paolo at 5.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Okay,
Cool.
cool. I was like, oh, you know what? I thought that was going to be a bit more controversial with putting Paolo at 5.
No,
Okay, cool.
he's just a guy that you look at last season. I've had to focus on the Orlando Magic pretty heavily for some work that I've been doing recently. And something that stood out to me was last season they had 7 nationally televised games, and they were 1-6 in those games. This was a team that was obviously really banged up last year. Paulo missed time, Franz missed time, Jalen Suggs missed time. It was a really banged up year for the Orlando Magic last season, right?
Bad.
But 1-6 in nationally televised games is not great when 3 of those matches were against the Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Knicks, and you got blown out one of them games by 30-something and one of them games by 40. Tough situation where you put yourself in a bad spot where you have to ask yourself, if you can't show up against some of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, I can't anoint you as anything better than the 5th best player, even though we know this is a guy that has a chance to be a real MVP candidate this upcoming year with the kind of success Orlando could be staring at. But until he shows it to me, I got to cap Paulo at 5 because I can't give him too much more grace until I see it from him first.
Need a deeper playoff run. Need him to stay a bit more healthier. Need to see just overall improvements of being the number 1 guy, and also just like seeing more from him as more of an off-ball guy as well. And I think like now we're gonna see more of that with the addition of Desmond Bane, who's gonna be having the ball in his hands a lot of the time. Yes, he's great off-ball, but he's gonna have to share more of the load. Paolo Banchero is with Franz, with Jalen Suggs, and all that. I feel like with Paolo Banchero, he has gotten himself into a situation with the Orlando Magic where he's clearly going to be the number 1 guy going forward, and he's shown to be a really good number 1 guy. He showed that he's a multiple-time All-Star. We've seen him be in like all NBA scenarios. Even this past playoff run even though we say that the Orlando Magic are not the greatest offense, he hasn't been able to lead them fully. He hasn't had the best efficiency, but even this past playoff run, he was pretty damn good. The only problem is the Orlando Magic were ass. That's the only problem in terms of their offense not clicking. But that's also a testament to Paolo Banchero, where he needs to get his guys more involved. He needs to be not just getting his stuff off, but also being able to make sure he gets the others going, make sure he gets them better. And I think that's why I just need to see more of Paolo Banchero, and we need to see a bit more of the playoff success. I think he's going to be a very good. I still think he's going to be an All NBA level player, but seeing what the other guys have on top of him, being able to fit into a role, being elite in that certain role, and especially being on these top end playoff teams, puts Paolo Banchero just a little bit lower than them.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what Paolo does next season with the kind of spacing he's going to be able to get, right? Obviously, you get a healthy Jalen Suggs back. You bring in Desmond Bane, high-level three-point shooter.
Needed badly.
Yeah, Tyus Jones, you bring him in. You get Jace Richardson in the draft as well. These are all guys that shoot anywhere between 38 and 40% from beyond the arc, both off the dribble, off the catch, and from the corners. So you look at what Paulo Banchero has been able to do over the last handful of seasons, and more in particularly dating back to his rookie season, and it kind of improves from there. This is a guy who's been shooting anywhere between 7 to 8 free throw attempts per game since his rookie season, with more spacing in the court being even more open because of the fact that you have to respect these shooters now. How much more dangerous can he be as a guy that gets to the line? Can he beat Shai Gilgeous-Alexander level, if not better, in terms of being able to get free throws off? Because if he gets to that level of, we're talking 8, 9, 10 free throw attempts per game,
just asserting his dominance, yeah.
We're talking about a guy who could be anointed as the new most physical power forward in the game behind Giannis Antetokounmpo over a guy like Zion Williamson, who used to be that guy we used to always kind of throw in that conversation as the most imposing force in the league behind Giannis at the power forward position.
Yeah, we both have a number 5. Again, I was surprised. I thought that you were going to have him a little bit higher, but we both have Powell over there. Who do you have at number 4?
At number 4, we have your dog, Pascal Siakam.
Okay, this is, I think, where we might have a little bit of an interchange here. At number 4, I have Evan Mobley.
Okay.
I have Evan Mobley number 4. Talk to me about Pascal Siakam, though.
So Pascal Siakam, I put him at 4 here. He's a guy who I think just showed off a lot over the last 2 seasons with Indiana in a way that I think he didn't even get a real chance to express with Toronto as a ball handler more than anything. I think it's been really important that the Indiana Pacers have been able to feature him more as a guy that you can get things off in transition with them playing so up-tempo. They're going to need him to be better as an offensive initiator with the ball at the top of the key this season, with the fact that Tyrese Halliburton isn't going to be their point guard. And Andrew Nembhard, I don't think, pushes the pace the way Tyrese Halliburton does, not just because of the passing acumen, but also I just think the ability to get Pascal Siakam the ball in certain spots in the fast break is going to be different. So Pascal's going to have to be better at initiating offense in a real way. I think he has the capability of doing that. And so I put him at 4 here because at the end of the day, I don't think we've seen him as the man just yet for a squad. And I think that given his skill set, he falls more into the Swiss Army knife category, but he's damn sure one of the best Swiss Army knives across any position, and that's why I think he got slotted at a perfect spot here around like 4.
Oh no, 100%. And then for me, to talk about Evan Mobley real quick, he won Defensive Player of the Year, elite defensive player, and we talked about Mobley. We needed him to take that offensive jump. He did. He did. Now is it like a 20-10 sort of guy? Is he going to be, a 22-13 like we project him to be, the prime Tim Duncan? Maybe, maybe not. But he's an elite defensive player. He's found his spot, and Kenny Atkinson has very much empowered him to be a more aggressive offensive guy as well, and taking a bit more 3-point shots, being able to handle the ball in transition. Like we talked about a lot last year. We talked about him making those decisions in the open court, which he's doing pretty good at. He's definitely improving. But he's going to be such a key for the Cleveland Cavaliers in taking that next step if they really want to be considered a title contender, the true number 1 in the Eastern Conference. Because you look at a lot of the other the top teams that over the last few years, they've had that rim protector guy, but they also need to provide good work on the offensive end. And I think Evan Mobley improving there, and then hopefully this is just the start of him improving on the offensive end and including just more and more to his game. He's finally realizing that potential. I do have him just slightly below Siakam, but it's nothing against Evan Mobley. I think he's going to continue to get better. Eventually, he's going to be like in the top 2 of the list once the other guys start to like grow out of it. You know what I mean? So it's seeing number 3, 4 instead of number 3, not too big of a difference.
So Pascal is your 3 and Evan Mobley is your 4?
Yes, and I'm assuming Evan Mobley's your 3.
No.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So I have a feeling who your number three is then. Okay, who's number three?
So my number three, and I'm hoping this isn't a positional discrepancy, is Anthony Davis.
Okay, he's my number two. Okay, he's
Oh,
my
okay, cool. Okay, cool.
yeah
So the real debate here is Evan Mobley versus Anthony Davis at that rate.
for you. Okay, yeah,
And
yeah.
so because I have Anthony Davis at 3, and this is one of those where I kind of
Interesting.
I kind of gave Anthony Davis the Zion Williamson pass to a certain extent here, right? Because I think
Yeah,
in different circumstances you might have to actually bump AD down a little bit because of the win healthy tag, but AD has started to show a little bit of a decent track record over the last 2 to 3 seasons of being able to be a little bit more healthy and sticking around for a lot more of the season, especially when he's most needed towards down the stretch, right?
yeah.
Anthony Davis, peak of his powers, is a DPOY candidate and a guy who I think can do a lot on both sides of the ball. I just
All
think that Evan Mobley is what Anthony Davis is hybrided to 2.0. I think Evan Mobley is one more offensive jump away from literally blowing what Anthony Davis is right now out of the water. Like, I think
interesting.
that we're in a state now where there's an inflection point of who that elite rim protecting power forward is that also has the ability to stretch the floor, can put the ball on the floor and drive to the glass. A guy who's a good cutter at the power forward position. Like Evan Mobley coming off the DPOY feels like he's that guy that's taking the baton from Anthony Davis as that dude that can step up as your lead rim protector at the power forward position and also be that 20 and 10 caliber dude. I think he's one more offensive jump away from really stepping into that role that Anthony Davis once occupied as a top 2 power forward simply because of the two-way ability. I think Evan Mobley is right there. And I think the DPOY, mind you,
Really?
TV, Anthony Davis never has won one. Just throwing that out there. Never has won
Yeah,
a
yeah.
defensive player of the year,
He's
despite the fact that he's been
you are
so elite as a rim protector for so many years. Evan Mobley got the job done as a guy that's still very youthful and has real offensive chops still left to get to. I think if you're already a DPOY and you've shown offensive spark with a chance to get better very, very soon, I'm gonna give the upside to the young fellow who seems like he's already slowly but surely stepping into the spotlight.
interesting. Okay. Firstly, let me talk about Pascal Siakam because I know like we're going a little bit everywhere on this list. I'm feeling we both know who our number one is, but let me talk about Pascal Siakam because he's on my number three, and I have Anthony Davis on my number two.
Okay.
Pascal first. I understand, and this is coming from a Toronto Raptor fan who saw Pascal Siakam as a number one. He's not number one, but god damn it, Jay, if he's not one of the best number twos in the league, if he's not one of the best Swiss Army knives in the league, someone who can handle the ball, who can fit in, who can fill in as the number two or the number three on your team, the number at times at the number one, like when you absolutely need him to. He is just the guy that every team wants, where he can just fit into so many different roles. He's a good 3-point shooter, one of the best cutters, one of the best guys in transition, can defend positions like 2 through 4, and he does it at an elite level. And we've seen it now deep into the playoffs where he even outperformed one Tyrese Halliburton in the
Yeah.
conference finals and taking on that huge offensive load. And yes, he was feeding off of the energy that Tyrese Halliburton had, but he also brings the defensive intensity. He brings the communication. He brings all that extra stuff, and he freaking fights hard every single possession in terms of hustling. All the little stuff that you don't see on the box score, Siakam does that as well, and
Yeah.
you have to give him like all of the credit for that. Being that Swiss Army knife, yes, it's gonna be hard for him to be the number one guy. I completely understand that, being this year in the Indiana Pacers, but having that all around game, being able to get that shot whenever you need to, which I don't think this is why I have him kind of a bit over Evan Mobley. I know that the defense discrepancy is there,
Hmm.
especially with the defensive um impact that Evan Mobley has. But Pascal Siakam doing a bit of everything, including the playmaking, including all the little things. I still need to see Evan Mobley's game improve more on the offensive end before I give him like even more of the praise. But that's why I have Pascal Siakam slightly over him. Now Anthony Davis, when we go into number two,
Hmm.
elite two-way ability. As much as I love Evan Mobley, and he did finish All NBA second team this year, Jay Anthony Davis. I know we got injured in his first game as a Dallas Maverick, which is really unfortunate on his part. And I will have to talk. And I know throughout my list I've been docking points off of injuries and stuff. But Jay, the two-way ability that you said maybe is like kind of slowing down with AD, I think it's still like elite on both ends. And at his PJ, even at his age, even at this point in his career, I still think I would. If we're going with a series overall, if we want to have both guys healthy, Evan Mobley and Anthony Davis, I still would trust Anthony Davis to be that better of a defender, that better of an offensive guy, and see him being able to have that all around offensive game, still have a more refined 3-point shot, even though him and Mobley are not the best 3-point shooters overall, but having a more refined jumper, being able to get to the free throw line. Yes, the um the games played is obviously going to be a big part with AD. Literally, I was on Basketball Reference and I saw one of his nicknames was Street Codes. I think that's absolutely foul for Anthony Davis. I know people call him that, but the fact that's on Basketball Reference is absolutely foul. But at the same time, the gap offensively between these top two guys and the rest of the list.
Yeah.
We're going to go to number one shortly. But the offensive gap and the fact that these two guys are still amongst, Jay, like the top 5 defenders in the league, top 3 at their absolute peak. I can't take away like that all-around talent that Anthony Davis has and what a number one guy has. And even though the games play might not be for Anthony Davis, I know people are going to start to favor Evan Mobley sooner rather than later. I think that all-around game, that two-way ability, is just too elite to ignore, even at this point in his career. Hopefully, he gets to play a lot more games with the Dallas Mavericks this year. They absolutely need it. But I think just that gap and the fact that he's just gone a bit better, especially compared to that post-championship run where he just kept getting injured, like it felt like all the time over there for the Lakers. Hopefully, he comes back stronger, and I hope it's more reminiscent of the 2023-2024 season rather than 24-25. I'm still having Anthony Davis as the clear number 2 here. But I understand like the Evan Mobley thinking, okay, he's going to take that big jump. He's still going to be a defensive player of the year. He's probably going to win more, Jay. I'm going to 100% agree with you. But I will defend Anthony Davis in this sense. He had to deal with freaking Draymond Green and Rudy Gobert all those years. It's. I feel like we're the deeper kind of pull in terms of that, where maybe those guys are slowly fading away from that discussion. But Anthony Davis, I think his two-way elite ability keeps him at the number 2 position. Maybe not for too much longer, but I still have him there.
That's fair. And I think maybe the games played aspect of it is the part that I'm leaning into the most. I mean, TV, you have to go back.
I get it.
You have to, like you said, if you go back through the stats, man, the dude, if we're going to use the old 60, if we're going to use the new 65 games All-NBA requirement rule, Anthony Davis throughout his career has only been All-NBA eligible 5 times in his entire career and has only been eligible for All-NBA once since leaving New Orleans. If we're going based off the new rules for All-NBA eligibility, Evan Mobley in 4 years in the NBA would be All-NBA eligible 3 of the 4 seasons he's played so far. I'm just saying, he's on really good pace not only to step into that lane as the next Anthony Davis type, but he's also a guy that's doing it with a much cleaner bill of health in the beginning of his career. Something that I think, like I said, we might be at an inflection point where either this season or an upcoming season very, very soon, there's a baton passing that's coming up very, very soon from Anthony Davis. And I think the guy he's going to be handing it to is Evan Mobley.
I really hope so, man. If he takes that next offensive jump, I will fully be on board with it. I just think that I don't know about that two-way ability, because even still, I still think the defensive capabilities of both guys, again, like I mentioned earlier, I still would even take the overall defensive skill set that Anthony Davis has even a bit over Evan Mobley at this very moment, at the peak of its powers. And then the offensive repertoire, a bit of a gap there. But if Evan Mobley continues to improve, I'll gladly eat crow, and he might even like become higher on my list as the season goes on. But as of right now, I still have Anthony Davis there. He's at my number 2. So go through our number 4 to 2 again. So I have Mobley at 4, Siakam at 2, AD at Siakam at 3, AD at 2.
Yeah, and I had Pascal Siakam at 4, AD at 3, and Evan Mobley at 2.
Okay, so we have 5 the same, 4, 3, 2, just difference in order. But Jay, no need to delay this any further. Number 1 guy. I don't think it needs much of an introduction. We're going to talk about the Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo, who probably still a top 23 player in the league, probably still the best defender in the league, still an elite offensive player. What's there to say about Giannis, man? We know that he's a freaking top 3 MVP candidate every single year, and he hasn't. It's like it continues to go without fail.
Yeah, man. I mean, him and Jokic are in this pocket now where they just put up video game numbers and no one's impressed because they've seen it for so long. I mean, that's where we're at.
Looking to like Jay. This is Giannis Antetokounmpo. I feel like no one talked about this at all last year, and this man averaged 30, 12, 6.5, 60% from the field on 61% effective field goal percentage at a 30.5 PER, and no one batted an eye.
Yeah,
just because you have to think, this is Giannis, because this is just Giannis.
And you have to think too. You mentioned the 60+ percentage in terms of the 60+ percentage in terms of shooting from the field. You have to factor in that not just PER TV, but high usage, right? He's right there usage percentage wise with Nikola Jokic, with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who were the top two guys in that MVP race. He's right there from a usage perspective, and just as efficient from the field as both of those guys. I mean, it goes to show you that this guy plays a certain brand of basketball that's gonna always keep him in the mix as a guy that's gonna be a two-way freak. Yes, has he slowed down a bit defensively? Yes, compared to when he was winning DPOYs and things of that nature, where we having that conversation about him. Yes, he's maybe not that guy necessarily anymore, but similar to the conversation you were saying about Anthony Davis. If the defense is elite, it's elite. How elite is when we start weighing them against other players in the same conversation. But is he still an elite level defender, especially at his position? Yes. And you pair that with the fact that, like you said, he's walking 30 and 12, and we're just unimpressed by the fact that he shoots 66% from the field.
And he's improved his mid-range jumper. People will hate to look at it, but almost 50% on mid-range jumpers last year, Jay. You know he's not shooting a three-point shot as we've been asking for him for years, and we understand now he doesn't need to. I fully understand that.
Yeah.
But stepping it out a little bit, and he's still just as dominant as he is. Like that's just not going away with someone of his I know, pun intended, freakish build. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, so Giannis just felt like an easy one kind of to like place here. Giannis, like, no drum roll for that one really, because he's a guy that I feel like if you don't consider him as the top power forward in the game, either you're a lot higher on Evan Mobley or you're so low on the Milwaukee Bucks that you're looping Giannis in the mix with it. Because other than that, Giannis is the best power forward in the league right now, and I don't think he's going to lose that spot anytime soon.
Jay, he still has the argument to be the best player in the league. He has the argument. If you look at all-around game, and I know people will favor defense, and you still look at the playmaking capabilities, you still look at the dominance inside the paint, the numbers speak for itself with Giannis Antetokounmpo. He has the case to be the best player in the league. Does that matter with when the Milwaukee Bucks have his second best player being possibly Kyle Kuzma? That's not up to him, you know? That's not up to him. I know he used to love Chris Middleton, but did he want to trade Chris Middleton for Kyle Kuzma? I don't know. That has to be in the future. But I mean, that's a question for Giannis, of course. But at the same time, he continues to be in that sort of sphere. We talk about Jokic. We put Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in that mix. They're just in a bubble by themselves, Jay. Yeah. You can even I'll honestly put Luka in that mix as well. That bubble of just Luka, SGA, Giannis, and Jokic just are in a bubble by themselves, and you can't it's hard to say that people touch them in this bubble. Yeah. Just because they've been that good, they've been doing it for so long. This is the crop of the best players in the league. And Giannis, even as he's getting older, some people are going to be like, oh, he's going to lose his athleticism, all that. He's not getting touched here. The stats are continuing to back it up. The dominance is continuing to back it up. And his defensive ability, and doing all the little things, Jay. Out of all those four guys I mentioned, Giannis is going to jump on the floor. He's going to be doing all that. He's going to do all the little things. Giannis just plays every game like it's his freaking last, and the numbers are just insane every year. And it doesn't mean that even though we're just used to these numbers, that we can't appreciate them, and they're just insane. They're just absolutely insane. There's nothing else to say about it.
Yeah, Giannis is a lock here. I think our list was pretty good. I'm surprised that despite the fact that we both thought this list was so difficult, that we actually both were pretty much on the same page, lockstep. Shout out to you, TV.
9 out of 10 the same names.
Yeah.
9 out of 10, except for that number 10. And again, you'll see this year, guys. Scotty Barnes will prove you guys. And hopefully Zion can actually be Zion. I don't know how else to say it. Hopefully he can be Zion for a long period of time. Hopefully we can see what the Pelicans actually truly look like with Zion as the number one guy. Obviously with the less talent that he had in previous years, but we'll take any full year, Zion, man. Just give us. Can we first get 65 games out of Zion?
Yeah.
Can we just first get 65 games and then we can move from there? That's all I'm saying. So hopefully we can do that. And even if he continues to be as dominant as he was when playing less than 50 games per year, I'll be back on board. That's all. I just want to see the 65 games from Zion. But yeah, let us know down below what you guys think. Agree or disagree with our list. Is there any guys that we're missing? I feel like this is probably the longest honorable mentions list that we've had out of all of the other positions as well. Next week we have centers, Jay. I haven't looked fully into it, but it might be another tough one too. So we're gonna have to wait and see, but we'll be talking about that next week as well. Jay, 4 positions down, 1 more to go, top 10 players to go. It's been another great episode. We talked a lot about the Christmas schedule. It's been awesome. What do you tell these beautiful guys before we have to sign out?
Yeah, man. So obviously looking forward to center position to round out everything with the top 10 rankings before we then, obviously do our top 10 players in the league. We are in full stride towards the regular season. Training camp will be here before you know it. I know a lot of people are in NFL mode. Don't forget about us. Don't forget about us, because before you know it, October will hit, tip off will hit, and everything NBA will start going into full effect. And we're going to be here every step of the way. You might even see us more every single week, depending on how much you guys smash the like button. So hit like button and subscribe to make sure that you're locked in. Make sure you're also hitting the post notification bell so you know when we're dropping any kinds of videos and episodes, because like I said, we're going to be doing a lot more as we get closer to the league year starting. Things are in the dog days right now for the NBA. We're not going to stop giving you content, but they're in the dog days right now. But as things start to ramp up, news picks up, training camp reports start, we are going to be tapped in, and the short form video reports, the podcast recordings, all of this stuff is going to start to drastically increase, and we want you guys to be a part of that.
Yeah, 100%. By the way, just quick disclaimer: Jason Tatum was on this list. I feel like because we've done this with the rest of the list, he's injured, so that's why he's not on our top.
Yeah, of course,
The top 10 power forwards list. I just realized, I was like, yeah, Jason Tatum would probably be on this list, but yeah, no, he's just not on it. But yeah, just a great episode in general. We have a lot more stuff, like Jay mentioned. We have a lot more stuff coming for you. We even have like special episodes planned. We have the WNBA going on. Eurobasket of you. I think a lot of the stuff we're gonna cover for Eurobasket is gonna, like Jay mentioned, it's gonna be on the short form content. So be on to tap in on the Hit Your Free Throws, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, all that stuff. Especially if you want to follow along with what our thoughts are on the Eurobasket stuff. And yeah, I mean, basketball is all year round, and with the coming of the NBA season, which means this is going to be the best part of the WNBA season, we're nothing short for content, Jay, and there's gonna be a lot of stuff coming on. Again, the top 10 list coming soon. The season previews. Again, we have special podcasts planned for you in the future too. Tap into the Hit Your Free podcast. We have a lot more left in store, and we're still in the third week of August. We have a lot more to come for you, so be tapped in. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for all your support. Continue to support the Hit Your Free podcast. So all of the links below. Jay and I will be back next week for a new episode. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a fantastic day. This is TV. This is Jay. We're signing out. Peace.